Hello, everyone. The topic this past week on The Breakfast Club, it has been about Facebook and how evil it can be. So this has been something that kind of touches on something I've been talking about on my own channel, and so I decided to chime in. Hope none of you are ASMR, because this is a live video. So previously I had talked about how ads from Google and Facebook seem to be sharing the same database sometimes, or listening into conversations that I've had when I've had my phone but not been using any apps that have requested me that they be able to record me. And some of those things, just to summarize, have been me getting ads based on asking some of my clients at work if they have any sexually transmitted diseases like HIV or hepatitis, and then I get ads for HIV and hepatitis treatments when I don't have those things. I've never posted about those things, I've only ever talked about them. But even going to so far as my girlfriend once sending me a message on Facebook which had a diamond ring in it, and it was this specific one from BrilliantEarth.com, and then on every platform I've been getting ads for that exact ring that she sent me. It's very specific. It's got like green leaves on it and everything. And I've had a couple of other examples of this come up after people ridiculed me at first when I said, "Oh, I think that the phone might be listening into me." People ridiculed me in my comments, and then some of them came back and said, "You know what? I've had some spooky stuff happen too." Like my friend Jared, who I recently talked about on my channel for his daughter had been using social media too much, Facebook too much, and he thought that it had been affecting her personality, and even so far as making her maybe want to be trendy style, self-harming, to the point where she was asking her friends if she should chop all of her hair off and do some wild things, and even after her parents said no, and then she just did it anyway after her friends told her yes. Yada yada yada. She got restricted from social media, and then after he restricted her, she found an old phone of his and she charged it up, and she was using social media again. So he grounded her until age 16, and that'll be a couple years down the road. From using social media. Just said none for you, and he actually made her log into everything and took all of her passwords, and then the main email account that it was all logged into, changed the password on that so that she can't get any of those accounts back. He's like really really sharp as far as controlling everything she has so far. Like, she could start a new one, but she'd have to go out of her way to break that groundation. But anyways, since that video that I made where I was imploring everyone to be a parent, and I told people, even like as far as when my dad grounded me, not grounded me, he restricted me from getting my driver's license, like, until I was an adult. I didn't get my driver's license until I was 19. I was saying, I'm in favor of restricting things like social media, even though they're tools that can increase your socialization. Sometimes socialization, without checks and without parenting can be bad. And for me, that socialization back in the day came through whether or not I could drive. And I feel like I'm a better person for it. I feel like my life would have been bad if I wasn't restricted from that. And I feel like if social media is that thing in children's lives, even younger than even driving age, in this era, then I'm okay with people being restricted from social media by their parents. I'm okay with parents being parents and making that call. So, since I made that video, Jared had sent me a message on Marco Polo, and he got this ad. I'm showing it to the camera right now, for study of iPhone addiction in children, sent to his Google email, you know, and it was just a little weird for him, you know, and there's all these little coincidences that have been popping up with people all over, and they're a little bit too creepy to be just coincidences in some instances. And Michelle Knight had sent me a link to an article about how people are too reliant on social media. I'm not going with the red right now. She said people are too reliant on social media, and sometimes when they rely on it in order to keep them in touch with their friends and their family, it can betray them. And in one instance, a journalist had a friend who died in the hospital, and she's like, "What? I didn't even know he was in the hospital," right? So she went and looked at his social media, and sure enough, a couple days earlier, he had posted that he was going to the hospital, but no one had liked the post. No one had given it a like, even though the guy had, you know, quite a few friends, because no one had seen it. So she asked some of the mutual friends that she had with this guy, "Hey, have you seen this post? Did it come up in your feed?" And everyone was saying, "No, I never saw this post." So ostensibly, what happened with this guy is he went to the hospital, he made this post, and he might have died thinking that nobody cared if he went to the hospital or not. Nobody gave him a like. Nobody gave him a thumbs up. Nobody gave him love, you know, the little heart shape. No one. And so then he died without anyone knowing that he was in the hospital. People who would have wanted to know that their friend was in the hospital. They just didn't know. So if we're relying on social media to keep us in contact with one another, we have to look at why this man died without anyone knowing that he was in the hospital, even though he posted on social media, which is a pretty important thing when you go to the hospital, right? The reason why is because the algorithms like you to enjoy your time while you are on social media, right? And this is any platform. So if you start talking about, "Oh, I'm sick, oh, I'm in the hospital," you know, things that would A, make people not enjoy their time on that platform, and B, on top of that, they would maybe leave the platform and start making actual phone calls, or maybe actually visit you in the hospital, you know, and get off that platform. Those are things that the algorithm is not going to reward, right? The algorithm is based on watch time for many of these social media sites, YouTube, Facebook, whatnot. The longer you spend on it, the more money they make with ads. And so they want to keep you watching, they want to keep you viewing, they want to keep you scrolling with your fingers as much as possible. And they've actually used a lot of the science of addiction, as I know it, as an addiction counselor, as it pertains to gambling especially. Things like harmonizing their websites and stripping them down to where you're not going to have a horrible experience. Like some people this week have talked about how Facebook is a lot simpler than MySpace was. Because MySpace, you could customize your MySpace site, and you could actually make somebody's computer slow down because you customized it way too much, right? And then you could basically give people a different experience on your MySpace site that you created than they would have on any other part of MySpace. There would be special little apps and widgets and stuff on your site that would make it a little bit jarring for people, and that got people to not use the site as much. So when YouTube looked at the difference between MySpace and Facebook and how Facebook kind of took over in the whole social media genre, they learned that they should take away the ability to customize people's channel pages, to a major extent, because the experience people have with these pages was looking like different websites altogether, and it was jarring to the consumer, which got them to use the site less. And so they took away some of that customization that a lot of people had worked very hard to get to that level with their channel, that level of subscribers and views, to apply for the ability to get those customization rights as YouTube partners. And then they basically streamlined the entire site with Cosmic Panda and all the other updates with the weird names, which are basically using better tweaked gambling science to keep people watching, to keep people viewing, to keep people's attention. But when attention is the bottom line and nothing else matters, a lot can fall by the wayside. Such as, if you were to make a video telling people, let's say, hey, I have cancer, you could get less views on the video where you're announcing to the world that you have cancer than you would get for just doing your normal thing here on YouTube, because you are straying from patterns that YouTube recognizes that it should promote to all of your subscribers. So it'll promote it to less. And all social media is doing this now, where they pick and choose what ends up in your feed. You do have a little bit of a say in it where you're subscribing to people, but they put little extra measures, like if you want to know every single thing that somebody puts out, you need to hit the little bell icon to get all notifications. And then even then, they could still not give you everything, because they'll say, well, it's actually most notifications, But when you look at your subscriptions, basically, they send out any video that you upload to a sample of your subscribers. And if it does well amongst that sample, then it'll send it out to a larger sample of your subscribers. That's how the algorithm is making sure, basically by checking with a smaller sample, that your video is still just as enthralling and addictive as your last videos were, by testing it with a little sample of your audience. And the more I see the re-engineered science of addiction applied to our viewing experience here on YouTube, the more I'm like, maybe we shouldn't even make the science behind curing people of addiction public, because when it gets re-engineered, reverse engineered to keep people even more addicted, it then becomes marketing science instead of empowering the world. It's enslaving the world. People fall into little time warps where they they don't even know why they're still watching, but they're still watching. You know, they're getting that little spike of dopamine in their brain, and they don't realize, hey, you're making horrible, crappy decisions about your time now. You're not spending your time well. In fact, making decisions like, hey, if I decide to speed a little bit faster on my way to work, I can watch one more 5-minute video. You know? Hey, I've got some time. I can fit in one more video. You know, maybe I'll just skip on my shower before I go to work. Crappy decisions. All right. Let's see. By the way, I really enjoy Nathan's videos on this channel where he is making art and talking at the same time. That's why I decided to bring that over here today. So, there we go. As far as Facebook goes, some of the war between Facebook and YouTube over people's attention has gotten just overboard, to the point where if you don't post a video natively to YouTube and you instead try to market your YouTube videos over on Facebook, if you don't post it natively to Facebook, you don't get as much reach anymore, because Facebook and Google are basically at each other's throats. You used to have this little icon that when you uploaded, you could post to Facebook, to Twitter, to YouTube, to MySpace, to Blogger, to all these other different things, Tumblr, whatnot. What's missing from those options very prominently is Facebook. In fact, when you look at the things that you're allowed to link accounts to anymore, it's limited now to just Twitter. The only company that isn't currently at war with YouTube as far as social media companies pretty much is Twitter. All right. So what does this war mean to us? It means that when we're trying to protect our content, it's much harder for us to do, because you'll see like a video from Kyrgyzstan end up on Facebook, and when it does that, people have nicked his video, they've stolen it, they upload it, and Facebook doesn't give a shit about protecting YouTubers that are big from losing revenue. And Kyrgyzstan goes and measures how many times his video was viewed on YouTube versus Facebook, and finds that it was shared virally on Facebook 30 times more than it was viewed here on YouTube. And that's disheartening, because there's no recourse that he had at the time that could really fix that. He lost a lot of revenue. And why? Because Facebook wants to kill YouTube, and YouTube basically wants to kill Facebook as well. They're not playing well with each other, right? And the people that are hurting because of it are the consumers and producers of the actual content. You know? There we go. So, I think we're actually headed into a future where it's going to get worse before it gets better. The AI has no ethics to it that are going to keep it from maximizing revenue. It almost is like the whole Citizens United thing with not, people who are on paper people, being real people, considered real people. They aren't. And it's the same thing with an AI that is just trying to maximize view count. We know this, that corporations and entities with no soul to them, with no grounding in ethics, they tend to operate in this system where everybody else has ethics guiding them in a way where they will exploit the naivety and the vulnerabilities of everyone else to make their money, right? And they will continue to do it until they are stopped through regulations that actually make it not as cost effective to just screw people. I mean, we've got examples of ethical violations where not only can AI predict through Facebook before a father can whether or not a daughter is pregnant, but AI can target people when they are depressed with certain types of food. AI can target people when they're in a manic state, when they're bipolar, with tickets to Las Vegas. AI has no shits to give about any sort of medical maladies that you have that are going on that it might be exploiting. And a big problem here is that we don't have a uniform experience anymore with these targeted ads. What you see on your screen is not the same as what everyone else has. So you have no idea that everybody else is not being targeted the same way that you are. And if you were depressed and you're getting a lot of ads for music by The Cure and chocolate and ice cream and dating websites and the like, you would have no clue that everybody else is not getting that same ad experience. Which is largely why I love using ad blockers, because I know it affects the bottom line for people who get paid through ad revenue, but I feel like those ads are so targeted now, and they're so exploitative of the large amount of information that they are collecting from our social media, that I don't want to feed that monster anymore. Even though it might be connected to some good stuff like people who are producing art here on this medium, people who are challenging social norms in the name of progressive values, people who are bringing the front edge of science to us. That's great. I still don't like the middleman, right? So I at any point that I can, I will use an ad blocker. I will distance myself from using a platform if I can. And what sucks is a lot of times these social media platforms have taken the place of business cards. If you don't have a Facebook presence, someone might create it for you if you get big enough, and then you won't even have any control over your fan club, your business listing. Google will just make Google Maps listings for places and start taking reviews, even though you don't even put your business on Google Maps. they'll still allow people to review you as if you were taking reviews on your own website, but you have no control over it. You know? So they're kind of forcing us into using them because they're using their power over the mob to basically strong-arm everyone into using their platforms. If you're not on Google Maps, you're losing out on what I have found out with my old businesses. It is about 50 to 60% of your business. People will be looking for something that you're doing in a certain radius from where they are. And if you're not listed on Google Maps, you disappear. And along with that, it's integrated into all sorts of social media. Facebook has their own version of it where they have places for you to review businesses, and those businesses don't necessarily have to have been the people that set up the spot where you are rating. You know, and if you don't control all your social media by opting in, then you're going to be pushed out, and worse, you could be opted in with no control. So these are things that we have to consider going forward in the future as far as what we want our internet to be and what we want our collective experience for humanity to be. Do we want people to be able to use marketing tools that can be so evil to bring things to our lives in the name of connecting all of us together when they're really keeping us from seeing one another? I think Nick Bravo might have said it best. When you're on Facebook, you are looking at everybody's fantasy dream of themselves while you're living your own personal nightmare. All right. Thanks for watching The Breakfast Club. Subscribe for more if you haven't already. And if this video hits, like, say, 50 comments, I will randomly pick one of the commenters and I will mail you whatever painting this turns out to be when it dries. Thanks, everybody, for watching.